You know, love from someone with an avoidant attachment style isn't like the Hollywood movies we usually watch. There are no scenes of them running through the rain shouting, "I love you," at the top of their lungs. No long texts at 2 a.m., no dramatic confessions. Their love feels more like background music, quiet, steady, and subtle. But if you really listen, it's genuine and runs deep. Picture this. You're in a quiet room with someone who doesn't say a word. They don't hug you, they don't whisper, "I love you," or "You mean everything to me." But they stay. They don't leave. For someone avoidant, just staying is an act of courage, because their instinct is usually to pull away when things get too intimate. And yet, if they love you, they won't disappear completely. They'll circle back, maybe with a neutral little text like, "How was your day?" Or simply by making sure they're still present somewhere in your world. I remember a patient in his early 30s once told me, "I don't know how to tell my wife I love her, but I always try to come home even when work leaves me exhausted. I sit in the living room not saying much, but I want her to know I'm still there." That right there is the quiet love language of someone who avoids but still cares deeply. And if you really pay attention, you'll notice they don't just stay, they listen deeply. Not the polite nodding kind of listening. The kind of listening where they actually remember the little things you let slip. Maybe you casually mention that you like your coffee black. A week later, they show up with exactly that, as if they'd read your mind. They may not shower you with loud compliments, but they remember. And that remembering is their quiet way of saying, "I care about you." Have you ever felt that? When someone doesn't say much, but then surprises you by recalling some tiny detail you thought nobody noticed. For me, that's always been a beautiful moment, a kind of love that feels profoundly deep. What's fascinating is, as their feelings grow, they start to share pieces of their personal life, the parts they usually keep locked away. Someone avoidant might never whisk you off to a fancy dinner, but they might take you to the little cafe where they always sit alone, or tell you about their morning rituals. To them, letting you step into that safe zone is almost like a quiet love confession. Because avoidants build walls around themselves, and if they open a door for you, it means you matter. I once worked with a woman who told me, "I've never shared my difficult childhood with anyone. But with him, even though I was scared, I still wanted to. I think that was the only way I knew how to say I trusted him." If an avoidant ever shares their fears or hidden memories with you, understand this. That's love. This brings us to something subtle. Avoidants often choose actions over words. They're afraid of direct expressions of emotion. Words can be misunderstood, rejected, or brushed aside. But actions? Actions feel safer. They'll replace the broken light bulb in your house, drive across town just to help with a small chore, or buy you something you needed before you even mentioned it. For them, these acts are easier than saying, "I love you." But if you look closely, you'll see, their love is written in quiet gestures. I want you to pause for a second and ask yourself, has anyone in your life ever loved you this way? No roses, no grand romantic speeches, just steady, tangible acts of care. Maybe it was your parents. Maybe it's a quiet partner. That kind of love, I believe, often lasts longer than any words. Still, love is never simple for avoidance. When emotions run too high, you'll notice them pulling back, retreating for a while. Not because their love has faded. In fact, it's often the opposite. They feel so much that it overwhelms them. In those moments, they need to step back and regulate, like a diver surfacing for air after going too deep. If you understand this, you won't feel abandoned. You'll realize this is how they're learning to balance love. I remember a middle-aged man once admitting, "Every time I feel myself getting too close, I'm afraid of losing who I am. So I step back, not to leave her, but to make sure I can come back and stay for the long haul." That struck me as deeply honest, and I believe many avoidants feel exactly the same. And finally, there's a form of love that's often overlooked but incredibly powerful: protection. Not in a controlling way, but in a practical, action-oriented way. If you're hurting, they may not hold you and whisper, "It'll be okay." Instead, they'll look for ways to fix it, offer solutions, or even take on the heavy lifting for you. To them, love means helping you stay grounded, not letting you feel helpless. I've seen this play out in many couples. An avoidant partner may rarely cry with you, but they'll quietly research, plan, and find ways to pull you through a hard time. They're not great with emotions, but they're skilled in action. And that too is their way of saying, "I'm here for you." So if you're in love with someone avoidant, don't expect grand gestures or fairy tale romance. Pay attention to the small things. The way they stay, the depth of their listening, the rare moments of sharing, the quiet acts of service, the awkward yet genuine vulnerability, and the subtle protection they offer. That's their love language. And maybe, sometimes, love doesn't need to be shouted out loud. It just needs to be noticed in the little things. Don't you think? There's something else that's fascinating. When an avoidant person loves you, they slowly learn how to apologize, even though it's harder for them than you might think. For them, admitting fault feels like losing control, and that terrifies them. But when the love is strong enough, it pushes them to try. They may not be able to say something smooth like, "I'm truly sorry for hurting you." Instead, you'll hear clumsy lines like, "I didn't mean to stay silent for so long," or, "I just needed a little space, not distance from you." It may sound small, but in reality it's a huge step, because in that moment they're putting their feelings above their ego. A man in his 40s once told me, "I hate apologizing. It makes me feel weak. But when I see my wife hurting, I know I have to learn to put my pride aside." It's not easy, but it's the only way to keep love alive. If you've ever received an apology like that from someone avoidant, you've witnessed them fighting themselves and choosing you. On top of that, their love carries another unique shade: indirect jealousy. They won't explode or shout, "You're mine." Instead, they might turn cold or suddenly withdraw when they sense a threat of losing you. They won't say outright, "I'm scared of losing you." But the shift in their energy, in their eyes, in their presence, that reveals a very real fear. And if they return after pulling back, that's proof the love is still there. They just don't quite know how to hold it in their hands. But perhaps the sweetest thing of all is this: many avoidant people create little rituals that exist only between the two of you. It could be a quick wink across a crowded room, a short phrase only the two of you understand, or a secret spot that belongs just to you both. These rituals may seem small, but they become a safe bridge for them to express love. In that private world, they don't need to bear everything. Just one little sign is enough to say, "This is our love." Imagine this for a moment. One day the person you love does something tiny, something only the two of you would notice. Wouldn't that warm your heart? That's the power of these private rituals. They turn love into a secret language between two hearts. And sometimes, avoidant people show love simply by watching you from a distance. Not to control you, but to quietly look out for you. They notice if you tend to feel down at night, how you like to fold your clothes, or how your eyes shift when you're worried. They may not always say it, and they may not always act on it right away, but they store every detail inside. It's like they're painting an invisible portrait of you, quietly, carefully, and with so much love. One patient once told me, "She doesn't know I notice everything, from the way she laughs at music to the way she touches her hair when she's anxious. I don't say anything because I'm afraid she'll think I'm strange. But honestly, that's how I love her." If you've ever felt that quiet gaze, you'll understand that love doesn't always need words. And finally, perhaps one of the hardest things to understand: avoidants often want to control the pace of the relationship. They slow things down, not because they don't love, but because love feels to them like a rushing current. If it moves too fast, they're afraid of being swept away. So they take smaller steps, making sure it feels safe, making sure it can last. This can leave you feeling confused, maybe even doubtful. But if you look closer, you'll see that slower rhythm is actually a form of responsibility. They don't want to rush in only to disappear. They want to be certain that once they step forward, it's a step they can sustain. So, if you're in love with someone avoidant, remember this: their love isn't the absence of emotion, it's simply a different expression of it. Awkward apologies, quiet jealousy, small private rituals, watchful eyes, and a slower pace. These are all signs that they're loving you in their own way. And the real question is, are you willing to listen to that love language? Because sometimes, love doesn't live in grand declarations. Sometimes it's hidden in the quietest things. If these reflections resonate with you, give this video a like, share your own experience in the comments, and don't forget to hit subscribe, so I can keep bringing you deeper insights into love and the human heart. Thank you for staying with me all the way until the end of this video. As a small token of appreciation, I'd love to give you a completely free ebook, written specifically to help those with avoidant tendencies grow and build healthier, stronger relationships. You can find the download link right below in the comments.